Some Senate Republicans want energy exploration permits issued less than 6 months after an upcoming state energy study is released. A new energy bill sets tax rates on raw petroleum, limits local government action on drilling, and sets guidelines for cleanup trust funds. The Senate's making preparations some 2 years early to get oil and gas exploration going throughout North Carolina. Our state is still officially studying the feasibility of exploration throughout the state. But these plans in this bill sets tax rates and a date for issuing exploration permits.
The purpose of this bill is to make very certain for industry what they can face when they come here to invest and explore our resources, because we want to develop these resources because we want the jobs.
Senate Bill 76 would set a 1% initial state tax on raw pump petroleum. Local governments could not tax petroleum or assess impact fees, only levy property taxes. Environmentalists say with state regulations still being developed and not released, there's an unknown factor for what revenue the state might need to protect the environment.
Really, without the Mining and Energy Commission's work being complete yet, and without rules having been produced for this legislature to review, it's really difficult for this body to have any basis for knowing whether that severance tax is sufficient.
The bill would establish 2 trust funds for environmental disaster cleanup. Offshore drilling revenue would fund a $50 million fund. Onshore fracking revenues would support a $10 million fund for onshore cleanup. Senate Bill 76 establishes the broad framework to get the new energy industry going beginning March 1st, 2015.
It's a great opportunity for this state to explore the natural gas that is available. As the understanding that I have, it's in abundance, and I think it really could be a game changer for our state.
The Department of Environment and Natural Resources faces an October 2014 deadline to craft drilling and fracking regulations, with those state permits coming in March 2015. This issue of whether or not to explore for oil and gas in North Carolina seems settled with Republicans in charge.
We appear to have abundant natural gas resources offshore, about 35 miles off the Outer Banks in about a 9 square nautical mile area. We believe there's about 5 trillion cubic feet of clean burning natural gas. We would love to be able to harvest that, bring it onshore with a pipeline, and pump it out to folks all over North Carolina and anybody else who wants to buy it.
Senator Andrew Brock of Davie County is the point person, or one of them, on this bill funding fracking, setting up the framework. Thanks for being on the show.
Thanks for having me.
I remember a 2-year study was passed, and you're in the middle of it right now to find out what's happening with the possibilities of fracking and oil drilling. Do you know what's going to be in that report, and this is why you're moving forward? Are we going to drill and we're going to frack regardless of what that report says?
Oh no, we're still waiting for that report to come out. And actually, what we moved to the date in the bill was actually to put 5 months after that report is due. So we're not changing the time of the report or any of the information. It's to go ahead and so we can start and put some definite timelines into the state law to where companies can look and go ahead and start. If it's good, they can go. If not, then the moratorium will stay in place.
Looking at some of the details, you set a 1% severance tax on the raw petroleum that's pumped out of the ground out in the ocean or fracked. How did you come up with 1%?
Well, we're looking at something that will incentivize companies to come here because of, we're looking for a clean natural gas, which is good for the environment. But we also want to incentivize those companies to come here. Now, over time, that rate will increase. And that's something we look at, and also it fluctuates with the price, which is really good. And the companies that are going to explore for this energy source, it's good for them because then they won't be penalized in tough times.
Who do you see out there around us in terms of the southeastern region as being our main competitors for business from oil and gas exploration companies?
Well, you're looking at large deposits in Arkansas, Texas, and other areas, and as we find this abundant natural clean resource in the United States, we'll find more and more exploration, and that's why North Carolina is going to be on the forefront of energy exploration and also on the safety measures as well.
We're taking that 1%, it's coming out of the ground, the state's collecting that tax the whole time. The money will fund these 2 trust funds, $10 and $50 million. How'd you reach that amount of money? Is that a just right amount, or is that a beginning amount that may go up or may go down?
Well, we're looking at a starting point of putting money into the trust funds to see if there are any problems that will be out there, but this is, it was a starting point of trying to find out where do we need to go. We're looking at how technology has evolved, how the process has become better and safer that we think that's the right amount to start out. And we still have another 2 years before we start, so we'll have a chance to change it if needed.
I was struck by the provisions in there that keeps the local governments from taxing petroleum that will be coming out of their towns and counties. They can't tax it, they can levy property taxes.
Right.
How do you see that playing out? Will property values go up because it's known that there's gas and oil underneath the people's feet, the property owners, or is it meant to keep local governments from shutting down exploration in a county?
Well, I think you want to make sure that the companies that are coming here to explore, to find out we have it, will have an opportunity to explore. And for not so much to shut down, but also don't make it put the companies and the property owners at disadvantage of exploring for natural gas. And also with the other surrounding property owners, if they still can raise property taxes, you'll see a decrease in property taxes.
Yeah, I wanted to clarify that there was a fear that local governments could raise taxes or impact fees that would prevent the exploration, and I guess in violation of what the state policy would be.
Right, state statute impact fees are illegal.
Have you been tipped off that this would happen, or is this just a preventative maintenance measure to get the oil and gas industry underway in North Carolina?
Well, talking with the companies that want to come here, they want all the safety measures in place. They don't want to run into any trouble. They don't want to run into any parts of the law that safety is not covered, because the worst thing for them is to run into a problem. They want to come in to have good regulations in place, good safe regulations, so they can do this safely and efficiently, and to make sure that they do a good job and North Carolina benefits.
As this money comes in, as wells start supplying a product, where does that money go?
Well, part of it will go to the general fund, but also we're looking at hiring thousands of jobs which are needed, and looking at how much money that will bring into the economy. You're looking at one factor of being offshore that could bring in over $600 million and about 7,000 jobs. It's a huge economic impact into not only to the communities, but for the entire state as well.
Yeah, Senator Tom Goolsbee told me in the story that there's 5 trillion cubic feet in one area out in the Outer Banks. How long would it take to pump 5 trillion cubic feet? Do you have any idea?
Well, we're looking at the estimates are anywhere between 5 and 15 trillion. So it could be more than that. So it may take some time. And then again, without exploring and to seeing how much we do have, who's to know to how much we actually do have in the ground.
What's happened to the debate about energy exploration? In that committee, there were Democrats in there, and not a whole lot of people were fighting the battle of whether or not we should drill or we should frack. It seems the discussion has moved on to other matters. Am I reading that right?
Well, I think the questions, and it was in Finance Committee, they were looking at the money side of the issue, and we know that there is money behind it, money that will come into the economy, money that will be created from jobs, things that will spur economic growth in North Carolina. It would cut our unemployment rate down. They know the benefits behind it. And Republicans and people that are unaffiliated out there know the benefits behind it as well. And I think when you're looking at the issues and knowing that we have the safeguards and measures in it to make sure we produce a safe, clean source of energy, I think it's some of the old arguments that were made years ago are no longer viable.
Senator Andrew Brock, Davie County, thank you, sir, for being on the show.
Thank you very much.